Hello and welcome to Jedi and the Mailman, the show where two old friends aim to deliver the best Star Wars talk in the galaxy. I'm Mike the Mailman, that's Jimmy the Jedi, and apologies for being late. For some reason, Jimmy's internet got cut off at the school, so he had to rush home real fast.
Yeah, that's
Is
weird because
everything
we were
coming
on it.
across okay?
No, you were super
Everything's
laggy
real
and
choppy.
crazy. Yeah. So it should be a fun night to,
I don't know what that could be.
I don't know. But yeah, so I apologize. We were on 7:58, getting ready to go, and all of a sudden it jumps on that my school blocked the because we had parent teacher conferences tonight. They were over at 8 o'clock, so I just record from there and then try to go we're gonna go live there like I did last time in the spring. And Mike and I were on there talking, and Mike surprisingly was the one who was gonna we thought we were gonna have to be late or whatever. And then all of a sudden, bam! It just blocked everything. Like all of a sudden, I just couldn't do anything on my computer, and I was like, "Oh crap!" Luckily, I live close, so here we are. I apologize. That one's on me. If I'd have known, I'd have dipped out a few minutes early. So, but hey, what are you gonna do? But
Yep.
so, Mike, how was your
So
day?
I don't know. Like I'm still seeing it was long. My video is still really laggy. Is my audio coming through?
Your audio is coming through, but you look like you're saying like one out of every three words. You want to dip out and come back in real quick?
I could try. Yeah, hang on.
Yeah, try that. So, yeah, Mike's, you joined WWE. I have not joined WWE. Don't know what you're talking about. So, but yeah. So, anyways, folks, apologies again. Technical difficulties. I don't know. It's probably something to do with my internet at school. Mike will be back on in a couple minutes. He had a trying day too, so I'm just glad that we get to sit and talk with each other. Hopefully, he'll be back on here in a second. I'm going to take a drink out of Ruthie here. It's just water, by the way, nothing fancy. But we got a topic, a good topic, I think. Article. I'll bring it up for y'all so you can see it. Give me a second here. Present it. Share screen. And it is entitled, "I'm disappointed with Disney's Star Wars strategy based on these recent announcements." So we're going to dive into this in a second. Mike found this article. And we're going to kind of talk about it and just give our thoughts. Here comes the mailman. Maybe. There we go. But yeah, so we're going to talk about Disney and what they've done so far and what this guy thinks. So, hi, Mike. I was just explaining.
Back.
Explaining what we were kind of talking about today. While you were off the air, getting everything sorted. So, all right. So, how was your day, Mike?
Like I said, long. We've had some pretty terrible weather here the past week or so. We've had hit ice storms, and we got another one coming. So everything is slippy and slidey, and of course, my job is to walk around in it. So yesterday at work, I was right. It was the second to last delivery, and I hit a patch of ice, and down I went. And I thought it'd be okay, but as we get older, we don't bounce back quite as good as we used to, do we?
Do not.
So the knee just started hurting, got worse. So I had to take the day off. Well, actually, today it was my day off, but I still had to go see the doctor and see what was going on with it. Turns out it seems to be just a sprain. I don't know. They won't do an MRI at the ER, so we'll have to see if things better from here. But yeah, I spent 5 hours in ER today. So,
jeez,
great day off.
Yeah, that's a terrible day off. So, yeah, we've had a long one, parent teacher conferences today. So we were in school for 12 hours. Well, more than 12 hours really. We get there at 7:30 and leave it 8. But yeah, I mean, and we have
Yeah.
weather coming in tonight. We may not
Mhm.
have school tomorrow. Fingers crossed that it gets canceled. That snowstorm hits. But yeah, Mike, why don't you tell everybody about the article, and then we'll dive into this and we'll get rolling.
All right. So this is another one of these articles, sort of analyzing, Disney's strategy. Are they doing a good job with the, shepherding Star Wars? And I mean, he brings up some interesting points here and there, but there's some other stuff in here that we're probably not big fans of. But we'll just kind of roll through this and give our thoughts and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the second article in about as many days, because if you listen to the main show, Charlie had pointed me to an article. Well, she put it in our group chat, and I read that, and I was fuming by the end of it.
Yeah.
I wish people would write something positive, but hey, that's just me, I guess. So, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So, all right, let me bring this up here, and we'll dive into it. And take these banners down so everybody can see. Take this off, and then we'll add that to the stage. All right, so again, I'm disappointed with Disney's.
I was hoping to have an outline put together for this, but
well, I have the notes
I
and
spent
some
all day in
questions.
the ER, so
Yeah, well, it is. Life happens. We'll get through it. I mean, so this is written by Josh and Patton. We went to www.cbr.com. I don't even know what that stands for anymore. It's like comic book something, I think.
Comic book review, I believe.
Comic book review. Well, they review everything but comic books. But some quick links here.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Patton here is not a super positive dude. He sounds like he's about my age, our age. And it kind of just starts off with when Disney purchased Lucasfilm, Star Wars fans rejoiced at the prospect of a third wave of films. That sound like her hillbilly right there. Films, y'all. And series from the galaxy far, far away. As a lifelong fan, I'm disappointed. That's a strong start. I'm disappointed in Disney's current Star Wars strategy, namely the recent trend of making announcements, upcoming films, long before they're even ready to start filming. Disney's obsession with the box office feels like a misguided attempt to recreate a once-in-a-lifetime success of the original trilogy. It will never happen, and they're ignoring the best hope Star Wars has right now. So let's just talk with that paragraph right there. And again, www.cbr.com, just go to the search bar, type in Star Wars. It's like 4 or 5 articles down called I'm Disappointed at Disney. And he starts off strong. I mean, this is a complaint that we've made multiple times.
Yeah, I can't really disagree with his points in this first paragraph, really. It is frustrating, all the projects that are out there, and Disney's not making any headway on them at all. Like you said, they've announced so many different things and nothing seems to be going forward. So that is distressing. That is annoying. And, it's probably a valid point that maybe they are trying to recreate that once in a lifetime success of the original trilogy, and I can't say it's never going to happen, because honestly, like if you think back to the prequels, like those movies did not hit for us, but for a whole different generation of people, it was their Star Wars. It was what the original series was to us. The right recipe. They're never going to recreate that magic, because we probably find out in 10 years that the sequel trilogy hit, it struck a certain group of people just right. So, like you said, a little bit negative, but I can't 100% disagree with his point.
Yeah, I have notes. I underlined that part, making announcements about upcoming films long before they're even ready. Yeah, I mean, we know that that's a big no-no. We think it's crazy. But to say it will never happen again, like, you don't know that. And again, like, everyone's first Star Wars is their first Star Wars. Like, I mean, I just kind of echo what you say. I don't think he has the right to say it'll never happen again. Like, people didn't think that, different movies would hit certain ways, and why can't it? Why can't they just start off in a new world, a new planet, and then just go bonkers with a great story. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's Star Wars. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
like with the main crew. Like, I don't know. I just think this is super negative, and I'm just immediately like, bleh, when I was reading it. But yeah, so with the right, I just put, I
Yeah.
had it circled. It will never happen, and I just put it could with the right story, the right film, the right action. You know, it could hit. I don't feel like they've got the right people writing these stories. Like, they go after people who are popular for one thing that doesn't necessarily fit. Where, um,
Mm.
uh, yeah, the OG fans are a pain in the butt. As an OG fan, I can say that. Like, they aren't not there. You're never like, for us, you'll never recreate the first time you see Star Wars,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean you can't have another amazing experience in the theater. I remember leaving from Force Awakens pretty happy, um, about Star Wars being back. You know, I wasn't
Oh
a
yeah.
huge prequel fan, but I've come
Mhm.
around to things. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Uh, they've got to continue to write stories for the next generation, or Star Wars will die. They can't hold on to it forever. So, um,
Yeah. Right.
so
And to your
then
point
this
too
next.
about
Oh, go ahead.
you made mention that maybe they haven't hired the right writers yet, but I I can't say that that's 100% true either because all these writers that they've hired, we haven't even seen their stories yet.
Mhm.
You know, they
Yeah, I
announced all
mean,
this stuff, they hired all these writers, but we don't know what they've written.
there's a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 movies out right now that are like in development, pre-production, post-production. Yeah, we have no idea.
Mm,
Like, there's 6 opportunities for them to reset
mm.
the Star Wars world. There's also 6 opportunities to poo-poo the bed again. But I mean, I would think that 1 or 2 of those is
Yeah,
going to hit. I
I would
just don't
hope so.
understand. Like, and I know people don't like to read or whatever. Maybe that's just us being older. But man, like, the High Republic is so good. And it just
Yeah.
frustrates me that, like, I mean, I got into a fight with, not fight, I mean, the argument, oh, because I said any book in the third phase would be great. And I was, oh, yeah, you have to go to the third phase. I'm just like, this would be a good place to start, like with the action. Then you could go back a little bit if you wanted. Of course, I'm getting more and more frustrated. But, anyways, second paragraph. It talks about the money everything's made, and then Disney's recent film announcements tell me they're chasing something they will never catch. Meanwhile, the studio has turned its back on many promising series and characters on Disney Plus. What they don't realize is that despite its cinematic legacy, television is now most fans' experience with Star Wars. Yeah, because there hasn't been a movie in 4 years or whatever. It has to be everyone's experience because they
Yeah.
haven't made a movie. Duh, Mr. Patton.
Right.
Duh. Everything that's come out has been on TV. Yeah, no, wow. Congratulations. Here's your Pulitzer Prize for outstanding writing. Like, people want to go to the movies.
Hmm.
This
Yeah.
See, I'm old school. I had to have it on paper. So, what do you think about that? Like, just the fact that he's like, oh, frustrating.
I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in the Disney's, Disney Plus, like and I, like the Clone Wars. It wasn't a Disney Plus show, but it's on Disney Plus now. But like the Clone Wars, the work that that series did really kind of rehab the prequels for me. You know what I mean? Like it
Oh,
flushed out
100%.
everything and it made the prequels okay, And you got the same sort of thing with some of the other stuff that's on Disney Plus there. I mean, he has a good point that there is good stuff on there and it'd be nice to see if they would, expand on some of that stuff maybe. And they are. I mean, The Mandalorian was a super hit. And of course, that's the next movie coming out is Mando and Grogu. So I can't say once again, like he's off track here saying that Disney's not focusing on what they have in the Disney Plus catalog. That they are exploring that avenue, and even after Mandalorian and Grogu, if it does well, they have maybe they have Dave Filoni's movie possibly coming down the line, and
Yeah.
that straight from the Disney Plus stuff. Yeah. I gotta out close this door real quick. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. I wrote not how we want to. So he sits there and says, why don't they realize that? Oh, I'm sorry. What they don't realize is that despite its cinematic legacy, television is now how most fans experience Star Wars. Yeah, but it's not how we want to. I want to be in a theater. I want to see movies. I want to see a
Right.
crawl. I want to hear the music. I want to have other people around me cheering whenever they hear the music. This guy should know better. He's older. I can see if he was some young millennial
Yeah.
punk. But yeah. Again, I'm not
I
super
don't
thrilled with.
know. Yeah. I don't know if maybe Disney's testing the waters with some of the stuff too that they've put on Disney Plus, but they're still gun shy to go forward with much of it,
Well, we talked about this, I think, on Sunday. I don't remember if we talked about it on the air or not. About Clone Wars fixing the prequels,
Mm-hmm.
and then do they need to do something like that with the sequel trilogy? Do they need to have an animated series like, because you have all these wars and stuff. You're not going to have clone troopers and things like that, but you could have different groups and introduce new characters. Some of those characters you see in the background could have bigger backstories. Is that going to fix? I mean, you shouldn't have to fix something with an animated series, but they
Yeah.
could do it. The problem with it is there's not a 3-year gap. Like all three of those movies seem to happen within like a short amount of time. So there's like not a lot of room to like squeeze stuff
Yeah.
in there is I think the problem
Right.
trying to,
Right.
but yeah, I don't know. It was a little frustrating. Every paragraph seems just to make me angrier, but then he talks about, his first movie memory is seeing Return of the Jedi in the theater. And I kind of like, well, all right, that's the one thing I could agree with because Mike and my dad took the two of us, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
to see Return of the Jedi. It's not my
Yep.
first memory of seeing a movie, but, it was a good memory as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then he goes on, the next time I saw the movies was likely when they aired on television. Unlike today, where Star Wars is on TV all the time, this was a special event. When my family eventually got a VCR, we rented the original trilogy films and made a bootleg copy of them. I've seen the Star Wars films in the theater a handful of times in my entire life. I've watched them on TV so many times, the tape wore out. Now, I started laughing when I saw this because people don't know, but Mike's family owned a VidSat services,
Yep.
right? So Mike,
Yep.
growing up, we had everything at our access because Mike's family owned a video store. For you young
Yes,
kids that don't
sir.
know what video stores are, they're like Redbox. And then if you don't know what Redbox is, it's like Netflix, but you had to go to a store and pick out your shows. But
Yes.
I can remember it being an event, man, like coming on TV on a Friday. One of my favorite childhood memories of Star Wars is telling my mom, man, I really wish Star Wars was like I could watch Star Wars sometime. And then, man, it popped up on TV that night on the CBS or something. And I was like, oh, sitting down. It was an event, and we would rent. People don't understand this. We would rent a
Yeah.
VCR for like New Year's and stuff and Christmas because they were so expensive at the time. Like not everyone could afford them. Movies cost like $100 to buy, and so you would rent
Yeah.
them. And we'd always get Star Wars every time. Like one of the Star Wars movies would be in whatever. So yeah, I get to that fact that it was like an event, but that doesn't mean it can't still be.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they were coming out every year or
Yeah.
whatever, we had a Star Wars movie. Like I still felt like 6 months is a hell of a long time to wait for another movie, or a year is a long time to wait for. Like those are still events, right? So
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
I I don't know. I still think it's like an event. I don't agree with kind of how he's saying this stuff. And then he also says, and I'll let you jump in here after this, but my experience is not unique. Only kids of a certain age get to see Star Wars in the theaters. It's because they don't put it in the theaters. They re-release them all the time. They're going to re-release. They'll probably re-release the prequels here and stuff shortly. But they even primarily experience this universe on television, which is fine. Disney doesn't seem to understand that the powers that be believed some as yet unproduced Star Wars film will rival the cultural moments of those first films. It is simply impossible for anything to break through the way in today's media landscape. Instead of vying to recreate the original trilogy, Disney should look at how television helps rehabilitate the image of prequels. I completely disagree with him. This guy's negativity, I mean, he's on this path of the dark side, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because, like, what are they supposed to do? To stop making movies because they're not going to hit for the grumpy 50-year-old men? Like, they shouldn't be targeting us anymore. They should be targeting the younger generation, right? Like, you walk into the store and there's no Star Wars toys at Walmart or at Target. There's a little tiny section where it used to be the whole aisle was Star Wars when we were kids. One, I don't think kids play with toys the way they used to, but you know, that's defeating. That's where just frustrating. Go ahead, Mike. I'm gonna cool off for a bit.
All right. Well, I mean, I think possibly that the landscape has changed. I don't know that, to your point, you said, you're excited to go out to a movie. It's still a special event to you. And I would agree with that. It definitely is. I'd love to see Star Wars in the theaters again. I'm totally looking forward to next year when we actually have a Star Wars movie. But it may not be that cultural touchstone that it used to be, just because everything is so fragmented nowadays. Like, I know it takes a lot to get me to go out to a movie. Like, it's freaking expensive, and there's so many options at home that you're not always willing to go out and just take a gamble on something. So, Star Wars may not get that huge cultural thing that we know from the past, and that it's not necessarily because Disney has a bad strategy or Disney's not producing great materials or anything like that. It has a lot to do with just the way that the world is now. Everything is so fragmented and fractured, and nothing's the same. So,
but movies can fix that, man. That's
I
what
hope
we
so.
loved about them. Like, there's nothing better than going and seeing a good movie. Like,
yeah,
I love it. I love that
yeah.
experience. I
I
mean,
mean, I'm with you. 100%. I'm with you. I think Disney's going to make some great movies. I think there's still great movies out there to go see. I just don't know if possibly that he may be right in the fact that when the original trilogy came out, that was a phenomenon. Nobody had ever seen anything like that
no,
before.
and you're not going to
So
recreate
it's
that.
something it's something you're never going to recreate. And even when the I don't know what
Here
awesome. Who's back?
There
We
we
missed you, buddy.
go.
Good to see you, pal. But yeah, I don't know what the prequels. I don't know how well they did in the box office. I'd imagine it was pretty great. And that was a cultural event just because we hadn't had Star Wars for so long. And my dogs are going crazy.
You're all right.
And the sequel trilogies, they did amazing. Box office wise, they all made over $1 billion. But I don't know. I mean, what kind of movies are making over $1 billion right now? Everybody's having trouble. Like Marvel, who had that long run of just crushing it at the box office, is struggling now. And I mean, you could talk about how the product maybe not as good as it was once, or people are just fed up or whatever. But things are changing, and I don't know. I don't know what it takes to be a cultural event anymore.
It needs to be good. I mean, people were
Yeah.
happy majority of people came out of Force Awakens pretty pumped. And then they
Oh,
went
for
on
sure.
social media, and people were like, "It's
Mhm.
just a retelling of the first Star Wars." Duh. But it was fun. It
Yeah,
doesn't have
it
to be
was.
earth-shattering. Like I said we talked about this kind of goes really well with what we talked about on Sunday, but
Yeah.
um like if I'm walking out of the theater with a smile on my face, that was money well spent,
Mhm.
right? Like that for the 2 hours or 2.5 hours that I got to just not be on my phone, not worry about swim, not worry about school, not worry about whatever.
Mhm.
Um, and I have a smile on my face, great. And
Yeah.
it's a success. I kind of
Yeah.
tell the difference between like we're walking into the Force Awakens versus walking out of the Force Awakens versus walking out of um like the Last Jedi. But
Yeah.
you know, I I just feel like he's given up, this guy,
Yeah,
on the
it seems that way.
possibility of something amazing. Like think about like what Marvel's Endgame and Infinity War did. Like those were huge. No one now they are chasing that again. Right? They're chasing that big build up. You're not going to have 15 movie build up anymore. Like that was
Right.
like a once in a lifetime thing. So, um, but I don't know. This guy disappoints me. I get where he's coming from with television and stuff too, but even streaming is hurting now. I mean, they're
Yeah.
people are coming
Yeah.
back.
Eh, like you said, we talked about the streaming numbers for Disney last year, and The Acolyte was the second most streamed show, and it was universally hated. And everything that was on that list, they barely cracked. I don't even know what the threshold was, but none of them were getting the numbers. Whether it was number one or number two, they still weren't getting the numbers that you know would justify moving forward and making enough money.
I think you need to have numbers that are not COVID. You can't compare them to COVID though,
No,
right?
for
Like,
sure
oh,
not.
this is not getting as much play. Yeah, no one's gonna watch. What was that show about Tiger
Oh,
King?
Tuck
No
King. Oh
one's
my God.
watching that show if
No.
COVID doesn't happen.
Yeah, I didn't
Like,
watch it.
yeah, I feel like my sister and I were like we watched all net like oh I finished the
Yeah,
internet today. Like I finished the
yeah.
internet over COVID, because
See,
like
I
we're
had.
starving for stuff. But like
Yeah,
you, I want to know, and that's hard because like streaming starts really kicks off, but you
yeah.
cannot compare it to a time period when everyone was locked
Right.
down and had nothing else to
Hmm.
do. Like you
Yeah.
cannot compare it to that. Like,
Right.
I just told we were talking with my boys, swim boys the other day. I'm like, because we're in our taper and we're taking time in between hard sets and things like that. I'm like, so you guys
Mhm.
excited that movies are back? Like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean? What do I mean? Like in June we're gonna get the Fantastic Four and the new Superman movie. Like we're getting
Yeah.
two blockbuster films in 1 month. Like it's been
Yeah.
years since and I I can't help but be optimistic. Now, my brother always tells me I'm the most optimistic Star Wars fan, like movie, because I'm just too. But you know, I want to believe. Like, what's like?
Yeah.
Why give up? Like, why be so
Right.
pessimistic about like this? Like,
Yeah.
then stop watching it. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you, like, I had a completely different um, COVID experience than most people. I have a really hard time relating to everybody else's COVID experience because working at the post office, we didn't get any downtime. Like, our job got harder during COVID. We didn't get to sit at home and get paid, and work from home and
Yeah.
stuff like that. We had to keep going. So I have a really hard time, relating with the experience that everybody else had. But the other point I wanted to make too was even even if you're not going to even if you want to compare it legitimately, and not compare it to the COVID numbers, try to compare it to something that's a little more realistic. I mean, they don't really have anything to compare it to. It hasn't been around long enough, I guess. But
Mm-mm.
beyond that, you still have to hit your targets. You still have to make money. Like, we know Disney's a multi-billion-dollar corporation. They seem to have, they're never going to run out of money. But if you keep shelling out more for the product than you're bringing in, at some point, you are going to run out of money. It may be
Yeah.
years and years and years down the line, but they do have to be a little more fiscally responsible and make sure that their company can continue. I mean, we could get into how they could change their market, maybe not pay their
What?
CEOs quite as
What?
much. And
This is, his whole thing is like, but there's a way to fix it. Like, I don't think television
yeah,
is the way to fix Star Wars. I think it's a way to supplement it. But Star Wars is a
mhm.
big screen movie magic thing, and
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Yeah.
and it ties so well to what because we're saying, like Charlie. She talked about, she's a prequel kid, but she
Mhm.
loves the look of the original trilogy. I'm like, Star Wars should be like the cheapest thing to create because everything is old and used, and
Yeah.
they're just paying people too much for stuff. Like, they're paying too much for things, and this inflated price inflation with all these different things that they're doing. Like, I just
Something's broken. Yeah.
something is broken in the system. I mean, everyone's
Mhm.
money, 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 but like, you shouldn't have to crack $1 million. If you spend let's just say you spend $250 million on a movie, right? And
Mhm.
that's, we'll say 300 million with advertising and stuff, especially if you advertise during the Super Bowl. Yeah, you're gonna have to pay 50 million. But um, if you make $700,000 or $750,000, like today, it's like, oh, you didn't make $1 billion. It was a bust. We're not gonna make
Which is
another one.
crazy.
Like, you just
Yeah.
made $500 million or
Mhm.
$450 million. Like, that's a win. If you
Right.
make 100 million more, that should still be considered a win. Like, they're just so eager to pull the plug on stuff, and everything's, well, it's got to make $1 billion. Well, no, it doesn't.
It doesn't. It's got to
So
turn a profit, obviously, but yeah,
yes, like, I
that
get it. Like, and
that
I understand. Like, people talk about like Solo, that was hit with, that was a
yeah,
mess, right?
mhm.
But
Yeah.
then you had the fandom working against it, which was asinine. If you're really a Star Wars fan, you want to see Star Wars, and you
Yeah.
want, like, I'm not going to go see this. Well, then why are you a Star Wars fan?
Right.
Like,
Right.
if you're not gonna go see, like, I get it, you're mad, but, like, you
Mhm.
don't know, the next thing might be the next best thing. Like, that's
Yeah.
what
I
America
mean,
and the world's, like, founded off of, like, the next great thing. Like, that's the whole
yeah.
chase. Like, you're always looking
Yeah.
for the next great thing, and
Yeah.
it frustrates me that, like,
I mean, a couple months ago we reviewed Solo, and I remember going into that. I had this memory of Solo not being great, and I think it had a lot to do with just all the talk that was around it. Because once I watched it that weekend, and you and I sat down to talk about it, and I was going into it completely ready to say, dude, this is ridiculous, and that's overblown. And I sat here and I'm like, I can't argue with you, Jimmy. It was good. So
good.
yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, if you're a Star Wars fan, why are you crapping all over stuff? Because that gets out there in the ether, get out, and it's in the zeitgeist, and then people formulate different opinions that if you just go into it clean without any expectation, you might really enjoy it.
Yeah, you might have a good time by accident if you think for
Yeah.
yourself and go watch something. That's the problem, is, like, and I know people kinda griped at us when we first got started that, like, uh, that we were too positive and stuff like that, but I'm like, I and he even mentions it here in a little bit, but, um well, I don't know about that, Imperial. I don't know if I agree with you. Like, I mean, I'm glad that we have TV shows and we have everything we have, but the big screen is, for me, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you can go much bigger than the big screen, right?
Yeah, I mean, but um, so he goes on. Sorry, folks, on my rant. This is like 2 or 3 articles I've read of people that are in, like, like that Forbes article really pissed me off. And if
Yeah.
I cannot believe that hasn't gotten more play, especially with the female
Oh yeah.
viewer
Yeah.
viewership because of the stuff that guy said. I was like, people got canceled because of stuff like that. But the prequel and sequel trilogies tried and failed to recapture that magic. Fan expectations and backlash is the new norm for Star Wars movies, and this, in my opinion, is the problem. Okay, I can only imagine what it would have been like in the late '90s, early 2000s with the prequels. If people,
Mhm.
I mean, all my best talks about people creating websites to hate him, right?
Yeah.
So like that's a lot of effort. It's you can just get on your phone these days and talk and be like, yeah, I hate Star Wars, blah blah blah. I'm doing a podcast. Look at me.
Yeah. But to sit down
But
and
you had to
code it,
really
like,
commit to
yeah.
hating. And so, I mean, and it's a shame that they targeted him and not the character, but whatever.
Mhm.
Um, when the prequel trilogy was announced, Star Wars fans were exuberant, ready for 3 new movies to make them feel awestruck kids again. Rather than recapturing the old magic, an unfortunate pattern emerged that continued with the sequel trilogy. A loud contingent of older fans made hating the new films their entire personalities. And I was guilty of this with the prequels for a while.
Yeah.
In the case of the sequels, their content creation business model. That's the thing. You have seen, and I have seen these articles, and I have seen more and more people on YouTube. They're all start leaning towards the hate because it's just whatever reason people want to be like, oh yeah, I want to be mad about something. Blah. Like, why not be happy about something? Why not find the
Yeah.
things that you like about it? There are people that I watched for a while that were positive, and then they started to realize like, oh look, I can get more views if I'm complaining or my tag says something negative about Star Wars, and
Yeah.
people jump into it. That's one of the
Mhm.
reasons I love a guy who loves Star Wars, because people get on there and try to bring him down. He's like, no man, it's called a guy who loves Star Wars. What do you think you're going to get from me? You know. um so and so he says the prequels are the only trilogy with the same writer and director for all 3 films. Duh. The
Mhm.
sequel trilogy's films were the fastest produced films with only 2-year break between each. So they should have taken more time. And Lawrence
Yeah.
Kasdan has written the most Star Wars films, one more than George Lucas.
Yep.
Then something interesting happens that taught me the cure for bad Star Wars is just more Star Wars. And like most people my age, I like the prequel films, but I didn't love them. They changed after Star Wars. The Clone Wars cartoon debuted, putting new Star Wars on TV for the first time. I caught the first episode by mere chance, hearing Yoda tell the clone troopers they were unique, and the Force hooked me. I don't understand this part of the article. Like, it just seems like
Yeah.
it's just real random. Like, hey, this happened. Here's 3 facts about Star Wars. Now we're going to jump into the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like, we talked a little bit about how the Clone Wars kind of rehabbed the prequel trilogy, but I don't know if, to me, I mean, I feel better about the prequel trilogy, but I can't say that it rehabbed the movies for me. Yeah, I haven't gone back and watched those movies in a long time, but the Clone Wars, I mean, expanded the story. It filled in gaps. It made, it added a lot. It made that whole thing better in my eyes. But I don't know if it made the movies better or not. And even like the to your point earlier, you said about maybe some animation and would help the newer films. I don't even know if the newer films need help. I'll tell you, like the Force Awakens, I saw that one multiple times. I loved it. The other two, I can barely remember them. I know, like uh, Force Center they just posted, I think last week, a watch along for one of the new ones, and I listened to it because I downloaded it, wasn't really paying attention, so I'm out on the route just listening, and I realized it's a watch along, and I'm like, well, do I really want to just listen to this while I'm not watching? I'm
That
like,
group
yeah,
is fun, though. You
whatever.
probably enjoyed it, right?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm listening to it, and I realize I don't remember this movie at all. Like, so I need to go back. I need to take another look at those movies because you're right, like you said, back in the '90s when we watched the prequels, like I don't think we enjoyed them all that much. But subsequent viewings, you understand a little bit better, you have a little bit more, and it's not so bad. So I'd like to, now that it's been a few years since I've seen those and can't remember a damn thing about them, I'd like to go back and see because there's so much more into the Star Wars realm now. I
Yeah.
mean, once a week I'm on here doing this. I
Mhm.
should probably know a little bit more, but I
Yeah.
just haven't been able to make the time yet. But maybe we'll
Yeah.
have to do a review show that, and I have to. It'll be homework.
Yeah, there we go. We'll review the uh, sequel trilogy over the next 3 weeks, so you're forced to watch them. But yeah, I still don't love The Last Jedi, but I'm not trying to cancel Star Wars because I didn't like the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, people like, well, I don't want to say names, but the channels, they went out of their
Mhm.
way to hate, hate, hate. I stopped listening to a lot of podcasters and YouTubers during that time period because I didn't like it, but I wasn't going to let them influence me. And all they were doing was spewing hate.
Mhm.
Um, And so, and then I liked Rise of Skywalker. I saw it 9 times in the theater because it just happened to be like all these different people always want to go. Like I'm the Star Wars
Yeah.
guy out here, so people want to go see it. Then I happened to come home while it was still in theaters, and we went down to Pittsburgh to watch it on IMAX. And then we took my dad to see it, and what I mean. So then by the time I got finished, and then there was one day I was back in Kansas. I'm like, oh, it's still out. I'll go see it one more time, and just because I could, and I have Movie Pass, so it wasn't no big deal. But like. I don't know. It was just fun. I liked it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But I like what Imperial says here. Here's a good question. Why do we on the outside of Lucasfilm care what they spend their money on? We are not involved. No, and my thing is said like, is just, I know like Acolyte got way out of control. It was like,
Yeah.
Some people are saying that it was like in the $600 million range by the time they were done, which why?
Yeah.
Star Wars is a lived-in universe. It should be easy to throw a bunch of junk out there. They did it in the 70s. They sure as hell should be able to do it now.
Well, they were telling a story though in the golden age, so they had to polish everything up and make it look nicer, and had to spend a lot more money.
Stay away from any major cities and just do it out in the desert.
No, I mean I'm with Imperial here. I don't care how much they spend, but like I mentioned earlier, though, if they go in over their heads on every movie and heck with it, we'll spend whatever. At some point, you run out of money, and it'd be a long time for Disney to run out of money. But
you don't have to make $800 million off of each film, like you.
No,
if you're making a couple hundred.
Yeah, and I know you can make good movies for less. Like we've talked about before. Like there are some really good horror movies that they spend almost nothing on. You know what I mean? Like there's different genres you could go into with Star Wars. There's different places you could explore, different things you could do, and you don't have to spend, $250 million on every, or $600 million on every show or movie or whatever.
Yeah, that's why like The Creator. Do you see the movie The Creator by oh my gosh, he's the director of Gareth Edwards, the guy who did Rogue One. Okay. So he did this movie The Creator with some crazy sci-fi stuff in it. If you get a chance, you should watch it. It's pretty good.
Okay.
It cost him like between 60 and $80 million to make. And this is all about androids and like cyborg type stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But like cutting edge, like it looked amazing. And it cost less than $100 million to make. Because Gareth Edwards planned out every shot because he had to. So he went in there and he knew exactly what he was going to do. And he did it. And he made a movie for that much money. And it is nuts.
And then you make $500 million off something like that. And
and that's what I'm saying. Like, we're in this world now where, we'll fix it in post. We'll fix it in post. Like, why don't I just do it right in the first place? Think about what you're doing. Yes. I know we don't know that much. And that's one thing, like we always talk about on here, where we don't know a ton about the actual business, but we do listen to a lot of people that do know. And I just feel like they don't make movies the way they used to. They just, we'll do this, and then we're going to come back and we're going to refilm for a month. Well, no kidding that the price of movies is skyrocketing.
Yeah, I'll bet it had a lot to do with, like, when you hear about even like Star Wars, like how much did George Lucas have to fight to get the funding for that? Like had to go to so many different people and
or something.
Scrape and scrimp and everything to get that put together. When you are forced to do that, when you're forced to work for the money, you figure out, you don't want to hurt your vision. You still want to get your vision out there. So you have to scrimp and scrape and figure out, plan better to make sure that you're using that money properly. Now, I don't know, maybe when you're just given, all right, here's a $500 million budget, I think there's no incentive to be frugal,
Yeah. Why bother?
Yeah.
But, it's just, we all suffer. And yes, I said Pittsburgh with an H. I've been out of the state for a while. Sorry. I know better. I apologize to all the Inzers. All right. So, stay on track here. I'm going to skip over the Clone Wars part because whatever. And then this, Mike, I think you picked these on purpose because you know they're going to fire me up. I think it's fun for you. Like, which one's going to piss Jimmy off the most? But so the visual effects and spectacle films are a dime a dozen today. This is the next part. He goes, the original trilogy was also a watershed moment in cinema because audience had never seen this visual effects like that before. The mythical feel-good nature of the story was also rare compared to the grit and social grime of the contemporary movies. Even people who thought Star Wars was uninspired drivel for nerds and babies had to admit the visual effects sequences were cool, even though George Lucas continued to innovate the prequels. The effect wasn't the same. I don't think you should have to depend on that for a good film.
Right.
And I don't think that's, I mean, I get that was part of Star Wars. Do you remember Miss Boyle, our English teacher?
Mm-hmm.
We had that. I think me, you, and Corey were in that class together. I think we were like sophomores or juniors. The only thing I can remember that this is like literally the only thing I remember from school is she told us that she went and saw that movie 14 times because she went every night after school because there was nothing else like it. And then that's all I remember from school, which is a
Yeah.
terrible thing to say as a high school teacher. It's literally the only thing I can really remember from class. So I strive really hard not to. And then Miss Boyle was great. She was. I mean, I remember her being tough and fair and just
Mhm.
a pretty fun English teacher as far as English can be fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I don't think. Do you think it was really that? Like, I mean, I don't remember being blown away by like. I mean, as a young kid, it was just Star Wars. I don't remember thinking
Yeah.
like, is that the? I don't know. Is that because the Millennium Falcon was flying and I thought it was real? I don't know. I just yeah, all
I
these.
don't think it was. I mean, the spectacle of it all, it helped, but I think outside of it all, it's just the story and the actors and them having these great characters and a great story and pushing that out. Like I really think you could have done just as well with less. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I can't say that. Yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
is Shawshank Redemption a great movie because of all the special effects?
Well, the laser battle at the end is really freaking good.
Right? I mean, I'm saying like you can tell a good story.
Yeah.
There's a reason these movies. I mean, you get to these characters.
Hmm.
You want them to be successful. I mean, I think, and I'm not an expert, and I've written and failed at writing books and stuff, and I wouldn't say that I could write a movie, but like people who put their stock in this and this is what they do for a living, like I feel like they've lost their way a little bit. But there's got to
Yeah.
be scripts out there that are feel good, that are
Oh, sure.
don't rely on this stuff that will make people want to come back to the theater. I'm trying to think of like, you look the first Joker movie, that was brand new. There's nothing like that. That made $1 billion. Um, I don't know. You just have to make a fun movie. And I think it's different for everybody, but as long as it's a good movie,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I'm
you
trying to
know,
think of a good like a sci-fi movie that was terrible but had amazing special effects. Where they leaned heavily on that because they thought that was what was gonna sell it. I can't think of anything especially, but I know like it's
I mean,
not that. It's
when I
not
think
the
about like
special
special
effects. It's
effects,
not.
like T2, right? Like that was nuts,
Hmm.
but it was also
Yeah.
a really good story, and the action was
Exactly.
phenomenal, right? But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean the CGI and stuff was, I mean, next level. I always
Yeah.
think that for me personally, I always say like after Star Wars, like Terminator 2 and The Matrix, like kind of changed special effects for films. Like Matrix, the
Yeah.
first time you watch that, I mean, I was sweating the first
Hmm.
time I watched The Matrix. That was so intense. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my god, and that was. I mean, you sit there and look at it now, and I was like, not a big deal, but
Yeah.
um,
Too, if you think about the original trilogy too, and some of the effects that were obviously puppets or stop motion and stuff like that, you could see through it,
Yoda.
but it didn't. Yeah, none of that took you out of it. It
Mm-mm.
wasn't great special effects. It, just passable special effects, but
Yeah,
it didn't matter. That's not driving the story. It's the story driving the story.
yeah. I don't know. I don't want to drag this on too long, but all right. So
Yeah.
it goes on and talks about the visual effects and talks about how people were kind of turning their back on the volume, which I also think, though, um, we've talked to people that filmed multiple shows, right? Don and some other people and Marty,
Mhm.
who they're like, no, we use the volume a lot in the Skeleton Crew. And I
Mhm.
tell you what,
Don't notice it the way you did with
now, but I
Kenobi.
noticed it constantly in like Kenobi. I noticed it
Mhm.
in Ahsoka.
Ahsoka. Mhm.
Yeah, so and he's talking about them turning their backs. I think they're learning how to use that technology better.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to find the next good part here, and then he kind of takes a shot at Eternals, which I thought Eternals was a fun movie. I don't know if you saw Marvel
I
Eternals.
did.
I
Yeah.
liked it. Again, the most positive movie. If I enjoyed the movie and it has a nice ending and good action and good
Yeah.
characters, and I'm a history teacher, so I loved all the history that was tied
Yeah.
into it. But
Yeah.
Marvels was fine. I thought it was creative. It was different. They
Mhm.
use their powers and switch bodies and stuff, and I thought that was fun. Doesn't
Yeah.
have to be earth shattering to be a good movie.
Nope.
It can be simple.
And
This could be
yeah. And you look at the Marvel movies, right? So many of like the first generation as they're leading up to the Avengers and whatnot. There were some terrible movies, but they just pushed through it. Like
yes.
think of the Thor trilogy, the Thor
Oh, the
movies.
second Thor movie
Like the
was
first two
horrendous.
Thor movies were not great. I mean, the
Yeah.
first one's not bad, second one was really bad. But
First,
then they kept going. They said, we have a plan, we're gonna push through, we're gonna get this
and they
stuff
went too
out.
far, but
And it
yeah.
just got better. Like it
Yeah.
got better. So
No, I agree. And I mean, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3 was weird. Yeah, but they
yeah.
had a story. They knew what they wanted to do, and it was all part of it. And I feel like,
Hmm.
so um Disney can develop new characters and settings better than in a feature film. Disney Plus can develop. Why? Tell a good
Yeah.
movie and the characters will develop themselves. Like, do
Hmm.
character development in the theater. Now, he's not wrong. I know I've been bashing this fool, and he's probably, I mean, he'll never know, but I might email him like, hey, sorry about what I said. But I get it. Like, the more time you spend with characters, now I think of Ahsoka when I think of this. Ahsoka
Yeah.
shows up in the Clone Wars movie, and we're like, who in the
Ugh.
hell is this little butthead?
Hmm.
Snips go take a
Hmm.
flying leap, right? And now people love her
Yeah.
and just, I mean, are obsessed with that character. I mean, I was comparing Jackie, like Jackie could be the next one, and of course that's not going to
Hmm.
happen because she got three
No.
hole punched. But
Hmm.
you can spend more time with them on the small screen, yes, but you can still create good characters
Hmm.
on the
A
big
good
screen.
movie. A good
Yes,
movie. You don't need 15 episodes to develop a character,
you shouldn't.
In a good movie, it I don't know that the right actor and the right writing and everything, they just manifest. Like it comes
Chemistry,
together. Yeah. You don't need, yeah, to your point, you don't need a whole bunch. It's possible. Think of any good movie that you liked, any character that you liked. It
yeah,
wasn't the whole. You don't spend 45 minutes of the movie developing the character necessarily.
no.
They just, yeah, a good writing and it comes
Leia
about naturally.
Leia stands up to Vader in the first couple seconds we meet her. She tells Tarkin to,
Hmm.
what for when she sees him. She comes to get rescued, and the boys are idiots, and she's like, "I'll take care of it,"
Hmm.
and then
You
she
know
hands a medal,
everything you need to know.
and
Yep.
we loved her from the get go. Right? She
Uh-huh.
wasn't in a bikini at the time. She was in a
Nope.
dress that didn't really showcase anything. She wasn't being
Hmm.
sexualized or anything like that. But they made her stand up to these terrifying people and then
Hmm.
save the day, and we loved her for it.
Yep.
And she was in the movie. I would be curious to know how much screen time she actually has in that first film.
Yeah. Yeah.
People
That's a good point.
loved her, right?
Hmm.
They loved Luke. Vader is only in the movie
Yeah.
for like, like none of these characters. So um then he goes on to have a list of so we got John Favreau's The Mando and Grogu. It's in post production. Charmin Obaid Chinoy's Skywalker film, which we'll see.
Yeah.
James Mangold Dawn of the Jedi, which I mean, that could be phenomenal. That could be on one
Yeah.
planet with one village having to deal with
Hmm.
bad guys and something. I mean, as simple as that. I hope it's not. I
Yeah.
hope it's mega, but
Right.
It could be, and it could
Hmm.
be an amazing story. I don't know
Absolutely.
why I keep
It
having this
doesn't have
thought
to
of
be
like
huge.
two brothers or a brother and a sister or something like, and they kind of find it and then they go separate ways with it or something. I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
Dave Filoni's New Republic era, Taika Waititi stuff, Sean Levy, and then he says streaming series also seem to be the antidote for fractured nature of the fandom. I don't think you're bringing the fandom back together no matter what.
Nope.
I'm concerned that the if the rumors are true about Grogu being older and being
Uh,
more like stuff that Sigourney Weaver's been saying, which I'm
yeah.
sure they're going to lock her up a little bit because like she said a little too much in the last episode or last thing. If he doesn't sound right, can you imagine what that's going to do to the fandom? Like if people
Yeah.
don't like the way he sounds.
Yep.
I mean, the one thing that unites the fan base is going to destroy the fan base.
Hmm.
Because that's the fan base.
No,
Like
you're.
there's just
Yeah.
no please, and some of them don't want to. Now, don't mistake this. Some of them do not want to be happy with Star Wars because they don't get the likes for it. Which I'm like,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be more fun if we were all having fun with Star Wars and enjoying things? I still don't understand that phenomenon of why when we hate things, it's more popular than when we like things. It doesn't
I don't either.
make any sense to me that that's how things work. No wonder everyone's miserable. If that's how we live our lives,
Yeah.
no wonder people are miserable. Like I'm a grumpy old man, but I want to have fun. Like
Yeah.
I want to enjoy my life, you know. I'm grumpy about things, but um only the most toxic outrage grifters haven't found at least one new Star Wars show to latch onto. There are also those who want more adult approach like Andor. There are also fans that want more stories that connect to the larger saga, like Ahsoka and Obi-Wan. Skeleton Crew and the recent animated shows like The Bad Batch offer kids an on-ramp to the universe. And you know, he just kind of says here like you can hit more people. Yeah, you can target more people. That's a given.
Mhm.
Um, but I also think that Star Wars is unique in the fact that um, we consume all of it no matter what. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Yep.
now, and I say
Well,
that
some
in
of
a way
us
that
do.
like I've never asked Molly to watch like the animated series, even though I want to. Like I love them. I mean, I sit there and I rewatch season 7 of Clone Wars. I mean, that's just a go-to for me. I just think
Yeah.
it's like some of the most amazing Star Wars I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And you know, but like fans who are into it in it, like we consume everything. Books. I mean,
Hmm.
I read all the books. I try to read all the comics. There's just so many I have a hard time keeping up. Now Mike's gone down that rabbit hole as well.
Yeah. Thanks a
Um,
lot.
TV shows, movies, you know, animated stuff. Like I don't know. I don't think that most people who are Marvel fans even read the comics,
No. No.
right? And I don't think a lot of Star Wars fans do too, either. You know what I mean? But like
No. Yeah.
a lot of us consume all of it because there's not
Hmm.
as much, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
This guy basically thinks that Disney Plus is where Star Wars should live and that um, he thinks that Disney's making a mistake by bringing the Mandalorian and Grogu to the box office.
Mm.
I mean, maybe it is a money grab. I mean, but if they nail it, it
I,
could save Star Wars. I
yeah.
mean, I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't know either, but I mean, like I said, we last week when we went back and watched some of those Mandalorian episodes in preparation for our last episode, it got me jazzed, man. I'm ready to see Mandalorian on the big screen.
I need to watch those
But
because I still am worried about it being hokey, if I'm being
yeah,
honest. Like poor dialogue, and I don't know
yeah,
why. I don't know why that just keeps popping into my head. Like this is gonna be like hokey. Like it's gonna be. I don't know.
I know where you're coming from with that. Yeah, I for me I had to adjust my expectations with Mandalorian, but when I got in the right frame of mind, I freaking loved it. You know, so I don't know. I can definitely see what you're worried about there. I don't know that it's going to be the touchstone that everybody's going to like, but who knows? I don't know. A lot of people like Mandalorian and Grogu or the
Yeah.
Mandalorian series, so we'll see.
Hmm. I don't know. I just
We shall
most
see.
people are writing positive This is what this is why I like Star
Yeah.
Wars. And if you want more positive Star Wars, you should check out a guy who loves Star Wars. He's on YouTube constantly. And then we're big fans of the Force Center podcast. Those
Mhm.
guys and gals
Mhm.
have been in movies. They've been around the movie industry. They're creating movies, so they know a lot more stuff than we do. But they're positive. They don't love everything.
Yeah.
So, hey, we're just talking
Oh, you
about you,
talk
Mike.
about
Just,
wow.
just talking about you, man. Um, just talking about you there, big fella. About we're talking about the CBR.com article. I'm disappointed with Disney Plus, and we're just kind of saying like, if you want more positive Star Wars, and we've talked, and I know you talk about a lot on your show too, is like, and we just said, why is it that everything that's hated is so popular and everything that's so great and so loved doesn't even you don't hear a peep
Mhm.
doesn't hear you don't hear a peep about Skeleton Crew, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how there's not more articles about that. I don't know.
so I just I wish our fandom would be louder about the things we love and about the things we liked instead of just
Yeah.
harping. I mean, there's still negativity coming out about Acolyte. Like, let's talk about the
Yeah.
good that was, and
No,
let's talk about a
you're
season 2 of
yep.
Skeleton Crew, or what's
You
the
are
next
you
fun
are
show
a
coming out.
You're 100% right on this. Like, I didn't think about it till just now, but we just got through um, Skeleton Crew, and it was loved. You hardly heard any negative stuff about it. And here we are, like you said, we're a month removed of the last episode, and you don't see any articles talking about how great that show was, but you still see articles about how the Acolyte ruined Star Wars and how this article how the movies are never coming back, they're never gonna, just negative, negative, negative. You're right, the most positive thing, and there's nothing out there about it.
It's so frustrating. And a
Yeah.
lot more podcasters and a lot more YouTubers and writers are all going to this negative. And I'm like, tell you folks, this is not what our world needs.
No, it's not.
You, let's
There's
hold
enough of
on.
that in the real world.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. I just don't get it why people want to hate what they love, and
Yeah.
I do not like The Last Jedi, like that, but I don't
Mhm.
want to ruin it for anybody. But like, Rose's thing is like, we fight for the things that we love. Like, I think it is like the cheesiest
Yeah.
line, but she's not wrong, man. She's
Nope.
not wrong. And I get what Ryan was trying to do in that. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the movie, but she's not wrong. Like, we
Yeah.
as a fandom, we do need to fight for the things that we love, and we need to
Find
stand up
those.
for, and we need to be yelling from the rooftops about the things that are good. And
Yep.
appreciate the fact that we have Star Wars. Everyone wants to complain like, "Oh, Disney ruined Star Wars." Well, there would be no Star Wars without
Yeah.
Disney.
Yep.
So I don't know.
Find the
So
positive.
yeah, I don't know. I apologize, folks. It's been a long day, but
This is what they tune in for, Jimmy.
I'm so
The
fired up
grumpy
about
old
this,
man.
man. I sit there and I think about the okay, this is my last point, I promise. The Super Bowl, right?
Mhm.
During the Super Bowl, there's all these positive commercials. I mean, even the one, it's really hard to take Snoop Dogg and Tom Brady serious when I hate Tom Brady for what he did to my Pittsburgh Steelers all those years, but like, um, you know, all these positive, I am somebody, I'm someone special. Like, there's all these uplifting, powerful, like, why can't we have those commercials all the time? Why
Yeah.
isn't that message being out there? Why aren't the TV channels just pushing commercials out every once in a while saying, hey, you are
Mhm.
important, you are special. You should, what I
Yeah.
mean? I know it's weird, hokey stuff, but like, that's what our country needs. That's what
Yeah.
the world needs.
Yep.
And it
Yeah,
just,
I was saying that too about that. There's that these commercials, the One of Us commercials or whatever, the Jesus commercials. Have you seen those?
yeah,
They're always so positive and uplifting. And I'm not Christian at all, but I love seeing those commercials. I just said to Annette the other day, like, I want to see more of that.
yes.
It's just positive. Like, love the people around you. Be positive. Be happy. Like, do something nice for people, Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we could definitely use more of that.
Yeah, Mike says, yeah, the real comment should be Disney saved Star
Yes,
Wars. It did. I mean, it
it
brought it
did.
out of obscurity. It was dead in the water.
Hmm. Yep.
Tahoe says this was a reunion I needed. Tahoe, we're glad you're back, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
Star Wars never needed saving. I agree.
Yeah.
We needed more content. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm gonna come off my. I'm so
Step off the
fired up.
soapbox.
Yes, that's it.
Don't slip on the way down.
Yeah, no kidding. I end up in the emergency room with you. So,
Yep.
but all right, folks. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Mike, I want to thank you for finding another article that got me all fired up and emotional.
Sure.
I do love
That's
having
what I
these
live
chats with you. I'm glad we're doing this. I want to thank
I
everybody
really
on
appreciate
Instagram.
all the people in the chat. I mean, you guys very interactive tonight. We appreciate the love and the feedback.
Yeah. And we will be a positive, even if we don't like something, we're going to find something positive about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't have to, we're not going to say it's great. I mean, I don't know where Mike really stands with, we do need to do a pre or sequel rewatch so that I know where you stand on these.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll work that into the system here, but, just be positive, find something you like, hold on to it, and then just talk about that. Talk about what you love about Star Wars, not what you hate about it. So I don't know. I'm done. I got to stop. So
I'd give you a hug if we were.
I need it, man. I go upstairs and get a hug from Molly. So, but again, thank you, everybody. We love you guys. We're glad everyone's back. It was good to see Brandon.
Yes.
Tahoe, we're glad you're back. Imperial, you never left us. Mike, thanks for swinging by. We always appreciate it, man. And you keep up the great work too, man. I love checking out your show. It's a positive. I wish there's more of you out there. Hopefully we can help a little bit too here on my rants. So Mike, be safe tomorrow. Stay upright.
I'm going to sit back in the recliner with the feet up and try to rest this and see if I can't get healthy again.
Here we go.
Maybe I will.
All right, folks. Have a good evening. We'll see y'all next week.
See ya.